Tell me if I'm alone here, Who What Wear listeners, but shopping used to feel more fun before all the algorithm-fed blah and the endless sea of dupes. But I have a confession. I found that fun feeling again on eBay. Because on eBay, it's not just shopping. It's a full-on fashion pursuit. And when you find the thing, that adrenaline hit is real. Like when you score that rare Adidas collab that's lived on your mood board, the Dior saddlebag you ripped out of a magazine in 2007 and never got over, or something like the Cecily Bonson GT2160s that sold out in 5 seconds. Yeah, those. It's about the thrill of finding pieces that feel like me, and I want you to find pieces that feel like you. There's always more to discover. eBay has millions of pre-loved finds from hundreds of brands backed by eBay Authenticity Guarantee. eBay. Things people love. Welcome to the Who What Wear podcast. I'm your host, Hillary Kerr, and today I'm sitting down in studio with celebrity stylist and friend of the pod, Petra Flannery. Petra has been styling for over 20 years now, and her client list includes some of Hollywood's most talented women, including Emma Stone, Zoe Saldaña, and Claire Danes. Today, Petra is joining us to talk about the current award season, the complexity of a simple dress, and her favorite custom looks that she's done over the years. It's all coming up on Who What Wear. Petra, welcome to the show. I am so excited that we get to have you back on. I know that you spoke with Kat Collings, our editor-in-chief, not that long ago, right after the Oscars, when your longtime client, Emma Stone, won Best Actress for her role in Poor Things. So I'm really thrilled to have you back here today. And this time we are right ahead of the Oscars. Mm-hmm. And in fact, right ahead of the SAGs too. So you have a lot going on right now, to put it mildly, right? I do. And first of all, thank you for having me again. I always love talking fashion, and I've known you for so many years. Yep. And this is a great platform. So thank you. Okay. So talk to me about award season. How many clients are you working with right now? What is it like? Because you also have clients who have other things going on. So how do you orient yourself in such a crazy moment in time? That's true. There are so many things these days beyond just, film when I started, which was the focus. Mm-hmm. And so now everybody's got, their series and TV, and that's all so exciting because it just keeps everybody busy and, keeps my world busy and, knock on wood. But yeah, I have, as you mentioned, Emma Stone attending everything this year because she's once again very talented, beautiful actress, once again nominated across the board. Zoe Saldaña, extraordinary, who will be coming back to pass on the torch, so to speak, to the Best Supporting Actress this year for the Oscars. Yep. And then I have Claire Danes, who's she was nominated for a Globe and then nominated for the Actors Awards. They're still the SAGs to me. It's the SAGs. I know. I was like, wait. Yeah, definitely keeps me busy. Emma keeps me extraordinarily busy. Zoe, we had, maybe it's a bit lighter this year, in terms of the awards, red carpets, but we really, ended the year with a bang, back to having a global tour. Again. Just a casual Avatar. Paris, China, Avatar. We were like, oh my God, we're back. No big deal. Just like a small little international global tour for a casual, small independent film. Right. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Emma Stone, who is obviously a longtime client of yours. I still, to this day, think about that peachy backless Calvin Klein gown that you put her in back in, I think, was the Globes 2011, if memory serves. Talk to me about that look. Did you know that you were going to make such a stir? Because it felt really monumental and really noteworthy. And I'm wondering, how much do you know that it's going to happen ahead of time? I knew I loved the color. Yeah. And I loved the sketch and I loved the color, and it was Calvin. And what I loved about it, it felt fresh.
she was blonde. And, it's interesting finding the right color for things, right? Like it really helps. Like, what's the silhouette? That felt like this very, I don't know, it's like effortless, like a t-shirt dress, I knew I loved it, but I didn't know how it was going to be received. And it was received so well. And I think it really put her on the map, even with Vogue. I remember there being the next, issue of Vogue had like a full page spread on it. And I think that's right when like Anna Wintour and the fashion department there really, really were recognizing her, as like, oh, here's somebody that's
really doing it.
Wearing it well. And I mean, obviously it takes somebody like Emma to bring it across. I just do one part of it, but she takes it home. So.
I mean, but it's the right person with the right hair and makeup and the right dress and the right color and the right silhouette. It's a lot of stuff that has to come together. Talk to me a little bit about color. How much does hair color depend on what tones you're even thinking about?
This year, because she's back to red hair, yes, that has like definitely had an impact on the various colors that we've done. And I feel like color, not just the hair, but like this color really depends on the silhouette of the dress. Things sometimes need just that darker shade, or like it's all about a very, even if it's a unique silhouette or something that's just body hugging, like what she wore to the BAFTAs, which was actually navy. It was like a very, very deep navy. Yeah. To me, like it needed, against her like porcelain skin and that kind of just needed to be a dark color because the silhouette was dynamic and it's like, I look at it like it's almost like doing taking a black and white photo.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have that contrast with her skin tone, or like it's like, like a Fellini movie or something.
Okay. So the last time when you spoke to Kat, you were coming off of Poor Things and all of the awards rigmarole that go along with that. And you talked a little bit about some of the through lines for that press tour. Begonia is obviously a very different sort of film. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about sort of how you address this award season and press tour and how you decide on a direction, because there are lots of different ways that you can go.
I mean, I guess we're really inspired by her hair and the length of her hair and having that shaved her head for the film.
That's so wild.
It is so wild, but it really... that's how dedicated she is and that's how good she is. That really set the tone because it's been almost a year now where we saw her on the carpet from last year where she had sort of a pixie, Mia Farrow look. And we kind of, dressed around that idea, kind of a little more 60s, till now, knowing it was going to be growing out, it was going to be in this in-between stage that, kind of went more towards the 90s and like, Amber Valletta and Shalom Harlow and Kate Moss when they had the short haircuts and then and that's why you've seen some mix of like the hair being like a little loose sometimes or sleek back, but that definitely was kind of our mantra of like, okay, let's lean into the 90s and kind of go more minimal. And I think you've probably noticed that with some of the silhouettes,
very modern
and things,
minimal.
Yes.
Like there's just a sleekness to everything that is really interesting to watch. How do you collaborate? Because, obviously Mara Rozek does her hair very often. How do you work with the Glam teams when you're working through something? Like, is it, if so much of it starts with the hair at this point in time because it's such a statement, how do you think through, like, do you guys send ideas to each other? Is there an always on conversation? Is it you say this is the dress and the Glam team runs with their own ideas? How do you guys work together? It's
kind of all of that combined. This year, definitely, the hair has been a focus, and then the minimalism of the silhouettes. But then, we'll share photos, or I'll just even see something along the way. And I know Mara is a genius, and she has ideas all the time in her head. And she and Em have their own dynamic of like, what it's going to be at this stage? How long will it be? 3 months from now. Yeah. And then I bring the fashion into it. And then we kind of all together and Nina, who's incredible, been doing Nina Park, who's been doing makeup. We all will all kind of throw in the ideas together. Obviously the dress is kind of, the first point when we're all together of like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. This is the color, or this is, and if I have all the dresses in line, which not all the time I do, then you can kind of play around and be like, okay, like, so this is going to be the sleek hair. This is going to be the
more
the cool girl hair. And
yep.
yeah. So, it's really, it's really a combination, but it definitely is collaborative. And someone like Emma's very, very involved and enthusiastic about it and spirited when it comes to doing all of that. So it's fun.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about, obviously, she is an ambassador for Vuitton. So and we've seen a bunch of Gasquier looks on the red carpet. So let's talk through some of these looks. They're the shimmery white bubble hem dress at the premiere in Venice. And then that airy sheer white look at the New York premiere. The orange column dress with the matching shawl in London. The black off-the-shoulder gown at the Governor's Awards, and then the butter yellow set at the Golden Globes. What is it that says yes to this color for this, or this silhouette, or we're going to try something different with a set for the Golden Globes, which I thought felt so fresh and interesting and unexpected and lovely, and folks were just really excited about it. But like, how do you determine the Globes is ready for this sort of moment, but for London, we want to go in this direction?
First of all, it starts with Vuitton and Nicola's amazing to work with, and he will sit down in the beginning, all like he will sketch in front of me, and we'll kind of hash out, what will happen, what for her together, and be like, oh, okay, he's just talking about like the 90s and stuff, and so sometimes we just kind of hash out like certain ideas, and then we go through like most, you go through the sketches and you go through the swatches of fabric, and obviously Emma's very much involved in that too, and what picking colorways and shapes and designs. I mean, the one we started off this whole tour, I would say, yes, in Venice, and that was the bubble dress, which was kind of like a dove kind of color.
Oh, like a pale gray.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
it was
amazing.
Like with the silvery, kind of patterned, which was beautiful. I loved that fabric, and the bubble hem was kind of a little bit of a nod to the film. So I don't know who's seen it all, but the kind of like cocoon silhouettes. So that was our little nod. But again, we did a little straight across neckline, and I loved that because it just felt like with the makeup, everything was like glowy, and the hair was just a little bit windswept. It was all very like kind of a little diaphanous, and I love that setting. That dress had a little bit of a modern tinge, and I think that carpet is so beautiful, the jagged roof, and I love that 60s like element of Venice. And then next we did the New York premiere, which was also another kind of in that color tone. I mean, it was perfect. I think Nicola had her in mind when he designed that. But it was also in that color scheme. And I was like, we hit the Cloud Dancer. We were like, I think somebody, used as an example of Cloud Dancer, Pantone color of the year. And I was like, wow, who knew? So, you think that you plan all these things. Sometimes there's these
room for whimsy.
There's just these great things that happen along the way, and you start out thinking you're going to do something, and then things change, or all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's a whole story. We created a whole story of dresses. But so that dress was great in New York on her. And then what was the next one? Oh,
orange. Tangerine,
which was actually supposed to be, was more of like our moutarde or mustard dress. So it was
interesting.
Yeah, which yellow came into play because that was a little bit of a nod to like the bees of Begonia.
Okay.
But that was an interesting color, and especially with not very many people can do it. It's a very chic color. I've always liked it, but it's like someone like Em can do it with her again, with her complexion and the red hair. It's a really nice combination, and it was very impactful. And then you add the red carpet, and again, that was just very fresh 90s, the square neckline.
Do you think about the color of the red carpet? Because not all red carpets are red.
Sometimes I'll get a glimpse of it ahead of time. Somebody will share. For the most part, they're red. It's always, it's a bummer sometimes when the background is like, whoa, that's it's very busy, or it's darker, and your client is wearing black because it's less of a silhouette, but
can't control for everything.
Correct.
Though you try.
You try to do. You try to be as prepared.
And then what about the off-the-shoulder gown for the Governor's Awards?
That was interesting because the band around her arms and her shoulders there where it fell, it was actually made of it was like a metal band. So all the beading was embroidered onto this metal band, and it was sort of like an orbit, So it was again like kind of had a little futuristic
I love that
nod.
Well,
so we do very subtle
and
things.
Also,
I like to do subtle things.
You want futurism, Gasquier is your
that's right
first call.
100%.
And then talk to me about the yellow set, because it's not revolutionary, but it felt fresh. So was it always meant to be 2 pieces? How did that conversation happen? Because it's like the perfect, like that pale buttery color was so flawless. And I loved the boxier top. Like the whole thing just felt really elegant and lovely.
Oh, thank you. Again, she wore it beautifully. That was, yes, meant to be 2 different. I didn't want to have an all beaded because the idea was that it's like 2 separates. It's almost like from the 90s where you're just like the little t-shirt and the skirt.
Yes.
And it felt, I wanted it to have that effortless feel. I always love when you set out to do something like, when fancy's effortless.
Yeah.
Right? Because fancy's fancy
ease.
and fancy can feel restricted. And, it's nice when there's an ease to something and it feels like, wow, they just kind of threw that on.
Well, it felt like she was wearing the look, not that the look was wearing her. And I think in this world of like extreme corsets, which by the way, I love, but the dress is wearing the person. So this felt like very, she felt at ease, to your point. She looked like she felt at ease, which I thought was really nice.
There is an ease to her.
Yeah. How did you get the tailoring right on that? Because it's just like also the right amount of skin. How do you decide like this is the right amount of stomach to show this is where we should call it?
There's obviously a comfort level. And then there's, you take pictures and you make sure like, okay, that looks good. I think it really, I would have thought it was on this one that it was going to be all about the top, but it was more about the skirt because I thought the skirt was going to ride, when it was designed that it was going to ride a little higher. And then as we played around with it, it was like, how things just feel good. And then as it kind of just went a little bit looser on the hips, it was like, that's it. And that's kind of like, and that's where fittings are important too, because you see how somebody moves in it and how they
are naturally inclined to wear it.
Exactly. And how their movement gives it a whole design, So
that's right. Because you're like, if someone's like pulling something up or clutching something or pulling it down or like it naturally sinks, like you're right. That you can emphasize that or you can tweak that. And so much can be changed with the right tailoring.
Yeah, absolutely. So that just kind of fell into place. But yeah, it was a beautiful color and I did that was how I described it too, that buttery yellow. And again, a little bee nod.
A little bee nod. Let's talk about the BAFTA dress because I literally had an intake of breath when I saw the first photos come through because the fit is so perfect. Like it just looked like it was like built on her. It felt so elegant and so lovely and sculptural and strong and incredibly sexy, but without being tawdry in the slightest. Like that's a very fine line to navigate. How did you decide on this dress? What's the story behind it?
At the BAFTAs and in London, you'll see a lot of glitz and things, and it's kind of nice sometimes to go the opposite way. It really was about the silhouette. The silhouette was very impactful in the keyhole, and everything had to be placed just right. But Vuitton, the Atelier, really hands down nailed it from the start. But then it had a lot of minor fittings along the way and refits and lengths and all that, and little bit here and there. So yes, it was fit really to perfection. But that's something about minimalism, right? It has to be the fit. And it's, I always say sometimes those dresses that are, simpler can become the most complicated because they actually have a little bit more, behind them. Maybe they're a little more intellectual. Maybe they're a little more design based than one might think. It's like the no makeup, right?
Yes. The 40 products for no makeup. Yes. I get it. Tell me if I'm alone here, Who What Wear listeners, but shopping used to feel more fun. Before all the algorithm-fed blah and the endless sea of dupes. But I have a confession. I've found that fun feeling again on eBay. It's not mindless scrolling, it's a fashion pursuit. And when you score that rare Adidas collab or the Dior saddlebag you've been manifesting, it's a rush. eBay has millions of pre-loved finds from hundreds of brands backed by eBay Authenticity Guarantee. eBay. Things people love. I also want to talk about some of the times that she has not worn Vuitton when you've been able to play with some other brands. Can we talk about the Oscars lunch and that amazing, was it a tuxedo dress, like a mini dress?
It had a bottom on the runway, but no, it was short like that. But we didn't pair it with I can't remember. I think it was a skirt underneath. I was going to say it was pants, but it was a skirt, like a long, kind of, which is amazing too. Yeah. And I didn't, but when we tried it on, it looked great as a mini.
Yes.
And, that's an event where, it's the Oscars luncheon. It's one of those things that then you take the big picture afterwards. That's kind of like that's going to run. It's timeless. So the tuxedo of it all is classic, and then it had a little bit of a twist, and it had I loved it. It had this like kind of very cool leather flower, which again is kind of like the flower and the bee, and the, So, but yeah, it was great. I mean, she's known for doing that tuxedo look, and she's always loved doing pant looks and suit looks. She's kind of our Katharine Hepburn generation, and so that's just kind of the evolution of it. I would say her wearing that.
Okay, and then I also have to ask about the Colbert look, which is that the actual Donna Karan look from Great Expectations?
It's not. It wasn't Archival. Okay. It was remade.
Oh my goodness!
I would hope that Gwyneth has that.
I would hope so too. So that is my favorite scene from Great Expectations, and she looks phenomenal in it. And when Emma showed up, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. The green is flawless. This green was made for her. How did you end up deciding on that moment? Because it was such a wonderful, nostalgic, but modern, like, you don't have to know the movie. You don't have to be me who saw it in the movie theaters and swooned and got the soundtrack on.
I was there with you.
Cassette, probably. Like, it was maybe a CD. But it was, that movie was everything. And that's the most epic look from an entirely important film. So how did you guys come up with that idea? What was the story behind it? Because I loved it.
Well, given the whole 90s nod, that was,
What's
it seemed
90s?
Apropos. And I said, at the office, we were like, okay, reach out to Donna Karan. And in talking about redoing that look, we sat with Emma. He was like, do you want to do a different colorway or something? And she's like, no, I think it has to be this. And I'm like, you're kind of right, Yeah. So I think it was just our fan out to Gwyneth and Great Expectations, which is 1998, I think. So we still hit that 90s mark.
That was an absolute dream.
It was fun. It was really fun to do.
But it's crazy how modern it looks. It literally could be something that was on a runway today. It does not feel vintage or a throwback. It doesn't feel costume. It's very, very modern.
Yeah.
You're probably under lock and key about the SAG Awards, but this will come out after the SAG Awards. So is there anything that you can share with us ahead of time about, are you decided? Do you guys know for sure? Are you final?
We are final, and I don't know. I'll be interested. I'm not going to give you any hints. I want you to see it. I want you to. You can text me on Monday.
Do you have a backup dress? Do you always have a backup dress? Do you never have a backup dress?
I typically have a backup dress. There's other things, but I'm not. I don't really have a backup dress on this one.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
In person?
Yeah.
Earlier today?
Yes.
Is it what you wanted it to be?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. We tweak some things to give it certain,
But I just love the fact that this dress just flew into LA. Well, hand carried, right?
Hand carried. Yeah.
I think that's the coolest way. One time I had the good fortune of being at a fashion PR friend's house when a dress arrived from the runway, and to see the way in the box it was it is no joke transporting these gowns.
Oh no, yeah, especially
this
these
is not just throwing it around.
Big. I remember back in my day of assisting, and there were these dresses one time. They came in crates.
Yes,
it was like Dior, like couture, and good fun. That's part of the allure of this job too. It's like the unpackaging of things and seeing it in person and touching things and feeling things.
Okay, I also want to talk about Zoe Saldaña because she is incredible, and you guys have done such phenomenal work together over the years. Only having a presentation at the Oscars and a global tour, is this a little bit easier, or does it feel like the same level of pressure when you have a global tour going on?
Well, with award season, I'm always very heightened about all the dresses and doing a good job. And, it's such a big stage that I always want everybody to, I really do put a lot of effort into it, making sure that everybody feels their best and, looks their best and feels their best. So, it's a little bit of a lighter year with Zoe this year, because she's just going to be coming back and, passing the torch on
What sort of look do you have in mind for something like that? Like, how do you prepare for something? Because it's a celebration of the work. The reason she's there is because she won last year and had that amazing, emotional, delightful speech. And she was just so incredible. Beautiful. Do you think about like, I want to nod to what she wore then, or to take it in a totally different direction of what's going on now? How do you put it in perspective? I feel like that's kind of the hardest, like it's both easier and harder, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I always take different occasions and make sure that, people, there's an unexpectedness to think about. And then there's also the expectedness in terms of like what's appropriate. If you're going to an arch opening, this is like, you can go a little this way or that. So yeah, she is going back this year and celebrating, somebody else's win. So, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
I love that she always seems to take more risks too than like your standard actress. Like she obviously has like such a love for fashion and will do trends and take some risks. So talk to me about the Avatar 3 premiere that I believe is a deep teal.
Oh, yes. From the Los Angeles.
Saint Laurent gown. Yes. And I mean, that was about as high of a slit as a dress can handle. How do you do that? And also, like, can you tell me a little bit about the Cartier jewels? Because they were kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, they were spectacular. The stones were like the perfect color because they brought in a little hint of the bow. But the dress, yes, it's funny. The dress came shown. The dress had like a little striped hot pant with it.
Oh.
But so we got the dress sans hot pant.
Yeah.
So we tried it on without, we were like, wow, it's really high. But actually it's quite beautiful,
Sculptural.
Absolutely. And then we thought, well, why don't we try the sheer hose with it, which is very Saint Laurent, very Anthony Vaccarello. And so once we did that, it kind of everything
coalesced.
Yes. And so it wasn't as like, oh my gosh, it's
leg.
It's leg but and her leg's beautiful to present, but it wasn't like a raunchy thing. We took like any little like, ooh, like scandalous, like out of it. But it's funny because even if we didn't put that on, like no matter what Zoe puts on, it could have a little like, scandal to it or super
but she
sexy.
Makes it look elegant.
It's so elegant. I was going to say that too. She always has this way about her. So
it's the posture too.
It's the posture. It's a dancer in her. It's a beautiful complexion. So we just went with it.
Okay. Well, I loved it. I also loved how sculptural some of the other looks were. The white gown that she wore for the premiere in China, the black Balmain peplum look that she wore at one of the European premieres. This is like a really structural look. It feels like it's pushing the envelope more, which again, I love. How did you decide to do those two looks?
Well, for one, like you said before, Zoe really is a risk taker. She's very confident with fashion, and she loves it, and we ooh and ah over things, and like she'll send me DMs, and we're always like oohing and on the runway and stuff. Like like we'll see like shows that just came out, and she'll send me. She's like, I love that. And we had the white Erdem dress for a while. I think we tried it even when she came into town to go to the Academy Gala. I had it for so long, and it was really sweet because Erdem, his team had written that the meaning behind that collection, there was like, I think it was a French philosopher, and she was all into kind of futuristic, philosophy and a little bit, almost a little sci-fi-ish.
Yeah.
So he was really excited that Zoe was going to be the one. So I had all this, leading into, I was like, we have to wear this dress. Yes. It really means so much. I mean, it looked stunning. Yeah. But that was a kind of an interesting part that Zoe having done so Avatar and so many sci-fi films like that this dress felt like it was her dress. But I think to speak to the silhouette, when you have these structural dresses, you really have to make sure that they have some kind of element that, again, the person's not, the dress isn't wearing the person. Right. Because that one had like such a defined waist and then the hip pads. So it, your eye kind of went into that besides all the beautiful like slips of lace. As well as the Balmain that she wore in Paris, which again, kind of like it had a waist, but we really noticed this like extreme or exaggerated corsetry on top and neckline, and then that beautiful décolletage of Zoe. So it's a fine line when you do those more interesting sculptural silhouettes. You really want to make sure that you're zeroing in on something to to make sure that they're
Yeah,
the
'cause
fit,
it can
make
go
sure
into
it feels
costume.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That you really see that they're wearing that.
That makes sense. I love it. I loved both of them.
Thank
And
you.
I also I always get a kick out of seeing what she's wearing. It's always like she can wear anything. And so it really, like, it feels joyous because she's not repeating herself.
She's
And no
very
shade to people who
fun with
repeat
it.
themselves, because Lord knows I wear a uniform, but like that's not what I love for the red carpet. And so you can just see the joy that she takes in it.
Yeah, she's great with it. Great with it.
I also want to talk about Claire Danes because like everyone in the world, I'm a big fan of hers. And I was so thrilled. My very first job was at the Gap when I was in high school. So I always am rooting for the Gap. And so the fact that she was wearing custom Gap Studios, which makes sense because she has a longstanding relationship with Zach.
Right.
I almost said Efron. That would have been hysterical. Zach Posen, who is the creative director of the brand. I had Enrique Melendez on the podcast a few months ago. We were talking about a collab that he had done for Jenna Ortega with Gap Studios and this t-shirt inspired dress, and how they ended up like acid washing it and cutting it in certain places. And and that feels like such a very different look than what you created for Claire. And I love that it's authentic to both women and to Gap, and so very different. But like still I can see a little bit of a through line in the Gap orientation of it. So talk to me about how this dress came together.
Well, it really was, like you said, the relationship between Zach and
Zac Efron.
Claire. Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine? Whoops. Yeah, so the relationship between Zach Posen and Claire were like old friends, right?
Yes, old
From
friends.
New York?
I think they grew up in the same area in New York, and I think he might have made her something like one of her first, events she went to, and two creatives in New York, and I think it was
running
like
around
Soho or
Soho.
something. So cool,
As you
right?
do.
Claire
totally.
again is like
Just like
she's
me in high school.
She's like the epitome of the '90s.
Yeah.
Baby, all her cool,
Angela Chase
Narciso looks
forever.
and everything. Exactly. That's kind of Zach had sent the sketches, and I love the idea because this was the t-shirt dress, and I thought that's so cool, and it had to have the pocket. And then when the first fitting happened, because that again is like during the time it's over the holiday, the first fitting happened in New York of the toile. And I was on Zoom, and then it was kind of like this, and let's roll the sleeve. And it was very cool to give it like that one next element of a t-shirt. And again, very 90s Gap. I've always loved the Gap too. I'm from San Francisco, so
it's in your blood.
I've got a lot of of emotions for that. But yeah, it just felt very cool because, okay, again, it's this effortlessly chic thing, fancy becomes effortless. And you marry in Zach, who is such a, his workmanship and his knowledge of female body and where the lines go and the seams and the beading. He does a perfect job with that. So it was really fun. It felt fresh.
It felt so personal too.
Yeah, and white.
Yeah, I just loved it.
I was like,
this is the combo that we didn't know we needed, but we absolutely did, and it felt like it landed beautifully. Before I let you go, a little lightning round, which I realize is perhaps not what your Capricorn self would love to bring to this, because Capricorns always want to have the right answer for everything, but we're going to do our best. Okay. So tell me one look that you've put together that felt like a risk and really paid off.
The one that always kind of stands out, and it doesn't even seem it now, but at the time it was when Emma wore the Lanvin jumpsuit to the Globes. It was beaded on top, and then not many people were wearing pants and that kind of look, that menswear. Now we see it a lot more, and I love it. And that was kind of, again, like she's always been known for that. And Albert designed that, and she tried it on, and it's not at all what we thought that she was gonna. We had other things in mind, and then that came along, and it was like, wow, that's really that's
wild
so
card
cool.
that made it.
And she was, she and Albert had such a sweet and very dear friendship.
Aww.
And that's the first person she went to the Met Ball with, and wore Lanvin. So, and she went a couple of times with him. So that it was one of those things. It was. The whole thing together is magic.
And also, what a crazy world we live in. That's like, ooh, menswear.
Right. Now everything has become more androgynous and cool and, and mixing things up. So
I love it. Okay. Favorite custom look that you've ever done? I know you love them all, but
I know it's so hard. There's been so many, and working with Vuitton has been amazing because of getting to work with Nicola. I mean,
visionary.
Balenciaga was everything for me. Like,
and a casual
it was,
visionary.
So there's probably everything we've done Vuitton, and I have to say though, her dress that she won her first that Emma wore her first Oscar in there was just a lot of stuff going on that year, and that was there was just a lot of steps to it, and it was beaded and it was painted, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night and
Stress
thinking,
stream?
as much as it tortured me, I also was like it's such a big moment, and beads were painted, and then I'd wake up thinking, did they paint it? Was it degraded the right way? And I would call, PR. Anyway, so
cool. I'm
I guess
stressed out just hearing about it.
Exactly. Again, the Capricorn. Go to sleep.
Okay. Biggest styling disaster that you've ever had to recover from? Carla told me about a dress that got thrown away, so I know you have a story like that. Oh my
goodness. On this one, I almost want to just set a lesson for anybody listening out there, and especially anybody that wants to be a stylist. Learn to have thick skin, because the things that you read and hear and all that, somebody's going to say it's a mishap, right? But when you did it, you weren't doing it because you wanted to mishap, It's like someone's going to take something that was, some people like it, some people don't. So it's like, and I don't know, there's always that time where your assistant gets on the plane without the premiere dress and is on their way to London. But fortunately, you can get WorldNet just in time to get,
You had an assistant to take the dress, and they forgot the dress?
They forgot the dress.
They got on the plane?
They got on the plane, and it was like,
did they
I
leave the dress
forgot
at their
the
apartment?
dress. I can't remember
Or at
all of
the
those
airport?
details. The stars were aligned that it wasn't happening right when they landed. I think there may have been the day in between. So
you padded
it
time?
was like, I was calling the designer, hey, do we have WorldNet? Can they make it in time? They were like, I just to break it down too. A lot of times you're like, oh God, what am I going to say? But I was like, this is what happened. I need help.
Yes.
Emergency, 911. And anyway, they got it there in time, and it was,
And also, just for our listeners who might not know, WorldNet is the FedEx for the fanciest things in the world, with the highest level of
door-to-door
care.
service.
Yes,
and you can reroute it, and you can.
It is bespoke FedEx.
It can arrive at midnight. It's not going to be like you weren't home to sign for it. Sorry,
no,
we'll
too bad.
reattempt on Monday.
No,
this is
it's in your hands, ma'am.
Yes.
Lastly, who is your favorite working stylist right now?
Oh gosh,
Let's give someone their flowers.
Oh, I love what Jason Bolden does. Then I love, you brought up Enrique Melendez, because, he and Jenna Ortega look like they're having so much fun.
Right.
And I look at that, and that's I
Joy.
just know how when I I still love what I do, but I know that feeling when you're just like, wow, you just start to have
clicking.
much fun. It's definitely clicking. I mean, my 13-year-old son was like, that dress, the silver dress with the tape measures on it. He's like, that was really cool. So I'm like, people are noticing. So kudos to
Petra, thank you so much for your time. This was such a pleasure. I always love talking to you. I'm always thrilled when I know one of your clients will be on a red carpet, because I know it's going to be great, and I am never disappointed. So
thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you're crazy busy. I'm going to press you for more details.
Thank you
on
for
that
having me.
dress.
Exactly. I'll text me on Monday.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to celebrity stylist and Capricorn, Petra Flannery. You can now watch all episodes of the pod on our new Who What Wear podcast YouTube channel, so please subscribe and check us out there. If you have any guest suggestions or any other feedback, find us on social at Who What Wear. See you next Wednesday on the Who What Wear podcast. This episode was produced by Hillary Kerr, Summer Hamaris, and Natalie Thurman. Our production assistant is Raven Yamamoto. Our audio engineers are at Glen Canyon Audio, and our music is by Jonathan Leahy.